In Europe, 18 million refugees were on the move. They carried with them the old diseases, which flourished amid the hunger and poverty.
In biblical days, his name was pestilence. His modern name is epidemic disease. His shadow is in the sewer waters of 1,000 towns. These people slake their thirst with typhoid fever and dysentery, with infectious jaundice, and possibly with infantile paralysis. A wave of tuberculosis which spread over Europe with the German armies could not be stopped without food, shelter, and sanitation.
The new chemicals were used to meet the emergency and the danger of epidemics. DDT, developed to protect soldiers in the tropics, was sent to the ruined cities of Europe to deal with typhus, lice and ticks. Penicillin cleared up pneumonia and other infections. Everyone was sprayed. In the new post-war world, people everywhere expected governments to make better provision for their health than they had before. Britain introduced its National Health Service in 1948.
Aha, Mrs. Cook, don't tear up that book. A word or two I'd like to mention. Do you walk with a stick? Are you limping or sick? You think that can't happen? All right. Well, it can or it can't, or it shall or it shan't. Maybe it won't, but it might. Now, the point of this tale is to drive home a nail. You'll be getting a booklet like this. Although it's quite small, it affects one and all, every master and Mrs. and Miss.
La sécurité sociale de la région parisienne offre le moyen de contrôler son état de santé et celui des siens gratuitement et dans les conditions les plus simples. Son nom, son adresse, et le voici convoqué avec sa famille au centre d'examen le plus proche. Nombre de maladies, on le sait, peuvent être prévenues par un diagnostic précoce.
The French started a health insurance system. All over Europe, regardless of ideology, more was spent on routine medicine and clinics. But the greatest priority was given to the fight against the handful of diseases that still took a relentless toll. Tuberculosis was the biggest killer by far. TB, consumption, flourished, especially where there was poverty.
Les tuberculeux ici, pulmonaires ou osseux, sont préparés pendant leur traitement à la reprise de leur activité après leur guérison.
Mass drives were launched to seek out the telltale signs.
A big ceremony in St. George's Square opens Glasgow's 5-week campaign against tuberculosis. 37 mobile X-ray units, the biggest fleet ever gathered together, have converged on Glasgow from all parts of the British Isles. This help from over the border is very welcome, for Glasgow has the highest tuberculosis rate in Western Europe, and nothing short of all-out medical war will conquer the terrible disease.
The X-ray teams were looking for the shadow of TB in the lung. Even after cases had been found, doctors could do little for them. In the East End of London, Marjorie Cave was one of several members of her family to get the disease.
Oh, I was terrified of it, terrified of catching it. My mother was very ill, and I saw her have hemorrhages and breathless attacks and fits of coughing in the night, and it was very frightening. And you felt that death was going to be the end. I didn't know then it was TB, but I'd seen it all. And then after she died, I learned that it was TB. So when I saw myself getting thinner and paler and more breathless and coughing, I thought, this is it. I'm the next. And I was right.
There were still no effective drugs, just rest to let the body fight the infection on its own.
The whole outlook was very, very bleak. That's, of course, if you survived. They thought I wouldn't live 3 months, so I suppose really it wasn't too big a problem where I was going to live and work.
Throughout the world, hundreds of thousands of TB sufferers were sent to convalesce in special sanatoria. Sometimes it worked, sometimes not.
Ce sont des tuberculeux qui vont vivre dans ce village durant des années pour sauver leurs poumons.
à heure fixe, allongés sur les terrasses, les malades attendent de la montagne le miracle de l'air pur.
Patients were of all ages. Doctors sometimes intervened with surgery. One procedure involved removing several ribs to ease the pressure on the damaged lungs. Les Ellis's operation was done under local anaesthetic.
There was a doctor there to hold your hand. You're laying there, and you're strapped on, of course. And then the first thing I knew was Dr. Murphy. He was holding my hand as high as he could so I could get at the ribs, I suppose. Now, he said, you'll hear a crack. He said, well, don't worry about it. It's just one of your ribs, you know. And there was just a great bang, just like somebody breaking a piece of wood. And that would go on until we'd take the other end of the rib out, bang. It was all right if you didn't laugh. And there was 2 or 3 of us had these operations, and of course we're trying to make each other laugh, so, you know, a bit cruel.
With TB still taking so many lives, scientists raced to find a cure. And in 1954 came the news so many had waited for.
A new series of wonder drugs joins the fight on tuberculosis. 2 pharmaceutical laboratories simultaneously developed the new synthetic hydrazid as an anti-TB agent.
The breakthrough was based on the work pioneered with penicillin. Within 5 years, the number of TB deaths in the developed world halved. Throughout the West, the disease would almost disappear. Hundreds of thousands more people survived. And as TB was conquered, poliomyelitis replaced it in the public perception as the most feared infectious disease.
My name is virus poliomyelitis. I consider myself quite an artist, sort of sculptor. I specialize in grotesques, twisting and deforming human bodies. That's why I'm called the Crippler. You've never seen me, but I'm sure you've seen my shadow.
Polio destroyed the nerves. Its victims lost control of their muscles. People thought the virus was passed on through water. In summer, public swimming pools were closed. Charities tried to raise funds for continuing research. Leading national figures helped with publicity. Vice President Nixon cleaned windscreens for a day.
Your faith in medical science and the unending fight against disease have helped bring about the newest miracle, the Salk anti-polio vaccine, which theoretically could lead to 100% protection.
And soon the polio effort paid off too. After the first successful tests, it was planned to inoculate every child in America. At first, supplies of the vaccine were limited.
My father called our doctor. He didn't have enough for all his patients. He just had some.
Deborah Runkle was 8, living in Minneapolis.
My father said, make it be my children, my 3 children. See that my children get it. And I remember, he did. We got some. He put some for us. And we went and got the vaccine. And then it was over. That was the fix. There was no more polio. There was no more worry.
The President expresses the heartfelt thanks of 164 million Americans. A true benefactor of mankind, Dr. Salk tells the nation,
I gladly accept this recognition of what each of us has contributed, and I hope that we may have the opportunity to see again in our lifetime the beginning of the end of other fears that plague mankind.
One by one, with the new vaccines and antibiotics, the major fears were dealt with. By the 1960s, almost all Western children could expect to lead long, active lives.
Pourtant, quel charmant spectacle nous offrent les danseuses de l'Opéra de Monte-Carlo qui s'entraînent sur la terrasse du Sporting. Avec impatience, on attend l'heure du bain qui est aussi l'heure où s'affrontent les pin-up.
Western governments had the money and the organization to see that everyone benefited from the new drugs. But in the underdeveloped nations, where most of the world's population still lived, conditions were as they had been for centuries.